And, you know, the conversation was the same. Now, the people who work there, which by far is more of people living with disabilities, they were saying that they had not been alerted by government. And so they came to work expecting to collect road tolls, and they were told to go back home because there was a cessation. And so they were asking that when are we going to be reassigned to our other jobs if you're telling us to go home? Aside that, hawkers are complaining. They're saying that they spent so much money purchasing goods to sell along the streets, and now this was going to cost them their livelihood. Now, yesterday, the Speaker issued a directive, and he's asking the roads minister, who, by the way, the night before asked that there would be immediate implementation of the cessation of road tolls collection across the country. The Speaker says that that was wrong. It was illegal and it has to be reversed. Otherwise, that will amount to contempt in Parliament. Let's take a look at what the Speaker had to say and also the rebuttal by the majority leader concerning this particular issue.
Until they are approved, nobody, and I mean nobody, has the authority to start implementing something that doesn't exist. But does that amount to a disrespect of the House? That is where I be different. The minister, because this is not a court of law, might have misunderstood or misapplied the law. And so it's for us to draw his attention and tell him that you have no such authority. In spite of all the legal and linguistic gymnastics that have been displayed, it is very clear that what the minister sought to do, he has no such authority to do that. It's not a matter of operationalization of the law. There is no such law for him to operationalize. There is no such law. The law we have now has imposed the fees that they have been collecting. So it's being implemented. It's not like it's something you are going to now start. Can we pass a law which is being implemented, and the implementing authority like the executive, they're having challenges with the law? They will not come back to the House. They can, on their own authority, decide not to implement the law. Is that what the law says? I say no. If they have any problem with the implementation of the law, then they have to come back to this House, because we don't just sit down and pass the laws. We consult the people who elected us to represent them here. That is why committees invite memoranda and invite people to appear before the committee. And so the executive cannot just on their own suspend the implementation of a law without coming back to the House. That is not democracy. That will be one-man rule. And so I want to clearly direct that what the minister has released is complete brutum fulmin. It means it's an empty boast. It has no effect. And therefore, I call on him to honorably withdraw that directive. Failure to do so would be a serious breach of the directive of the Speaker, and that will amount to contempt of Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, my understanding is that yesterday, immediately after the delivery of the budget, confusion arose at the various toll booths. The exchange of fisticuffs at the various toll booths. Mr. Speaker, and to avoid further escalation of the confusion and chaos at the toll booths, the minister, in order to save the situation, came with that directive. Mr. Speaker, that really is what happened. The minister wanted to save the situation. As to whether it conformed to legality, that was another matter. That is another matter. But the minister acted timeously to save life and property. Mr. Speaker, that is why the directive was not about the suspension of the law. The minister could not have suspended the law.
All right, and that is the majority leader in Parliament, Honorable Seche Mensah Bonsu, giving a rebuttal to the Speaker's directive to have the roads minister reverse that hasty decision to implement the road tolls. Let me introduce you to my guest in the studios, by the way. And next to me, I have Richard Asante. He is the Deputy Communications Director for the NPP. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
All right. And also next to him, we have Mr. Kwame Jantua. He is the Chairman of Oil and Gas Sector, AGI. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
And a member of the CPP.
And a member of the CPP as well. And also finally, Bernard Mona. He's a former chairman for the People's National Convention. Good morning to you as well.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm okay.
We're expecting Mr. Sam George, the MP for Ningo Pampam, and also the ranking member of the Communications Committee in Parliament to join us. So we hope that he's on his way and will join us shortly. But Richard, I'll start off with you, because when we listen to the majority leader, he says that there was a reason why the minister hastily issued the directive to have the cessation of road tolls. It was because there was confusion at some of these toll booths. And a number of people have asked that where exactly were these confusions recorded? Because as far as we're concerned, we didn't record any of that and we didn't hear about it anywhere. So under what authority then did the minister decide to go ahead and issue this directive after the finance minister had said that we'll have to wait for approval from Parliament?
Thank you very much, Bella, and good morning to my colleagues and also my senior Jantua. I've been a while. Yeah. We've been busy chasing politics. And I think that one thing that we need to appreciate as a people is to, at every point in time, take pragmatic steps to forestall peace and sanity within our communities. And you know, as a people, particularly on our roads, there are a lot of things that do happen that by the time you want to get into and bring in police and other security operators to help forestall peace, it would have overrun itself, and the situation would have possibly caused major harm to either individuals or properties within that enclave. I think that somebody would want to look at it and say that, you know what, you could have waited for Parliament to go through these processes and deal with these matters before you come up with this directive. But this is an administrative decision. The minister has no rights and has no powers to suspend a law, and he hasn't done so. What the minister can do at any point in time is to issue administrative decisions.
He hasn't suspended a law?
No, he has no right to do that.
How is that so? Because the law says that if you have to collect road funds.
Yes, if you allow me. Because at every point in time, the minister determines which portions of roads that need to be towed. And if there are issues that borders on removing a booth and making sure that the place is put in a better shape or road is constructed within an area, the minister has the right under the law to give those directives, and same will be done. But I think when you look at the reasons that has been adduced by the minister, that culminated into the administrative decisions that has been given, remember that it's an administrative directive, not suspension of the law. Now, what the minister said was that because of the kind of potential challenges that we may encounter. But when people hear that living fuel prices, those times that we're living under the era of Dr. Kwesi Botwe, when prices of milk and other things will be quoted and government will be giving directives as to how much it ought to be sold and all that. We realized that right afterwards, people expect that this thing should start take a full effect. So people thought that as soon as this Minister of Finance read the budget, these things were to start.
But the minister was clear. And I'll read it for you. He said that, let me just bring that in 306. To address these challenges, governments will zero rate tolls on all public roads.
Whatever the minister
you are saying that for some people they may have. Can you just let me land, please? Pardon me. For those people that you are saying may have thought that this issuance was going to take place immediately, the minister was very explicit. He said that this takes effect immediately the budget is approved. And the budget had not been approved. It was just presented yesterday, 2 days ago. So it was not approved. So how do you assume that people along the streets will think that it is taking place immediately when the minister was clear in what he said?
I think we are speaking from the same angle. We know our people, and we know the kind of confusions that sometimes ensues when people do not appreciate and comprehend directives that have been given out. Now, what the minister seek to do was to prevent these sort of challenges at the various toll booths where drivers and toll collectors will be at each other's throats, fighting each other because...
Not to address what was already happening.
Because of the information that has been delivered to them, and which is rightly so, that in the coming days, they are not going to be paying tolls because government is trying to find better strategy to deal with traffic on our roads. And also there's man hours and fuel that are burnt in when people stay in these long queues at the various toll centers. And I think that is what the minister was trying to prevent, that this altercation that is likely to rear its ugly head when people do not come to understand how this ought to be done.
Richard, let's be clear. I'm coming. Let's be clear. Majority leader said that he had to pass this directive because there was confusion at some of these tolling booths. Now, you are saying that it was supposed to prevent it from happening? Which is which?
But if there are some at one or two stations and we want to further prevent the further escalation of the situation, you put the measure to deal with that.
Where did this happen? Where did this confusion happen?
Remember that.
Where did this confusion happen?
I think your excitement is on locating where confusion might have happened on our roads.
Do we not deserve to know that?
Of course, as a journalist, you can go out there and seek for all those information. But I'm saying that my business here is at every point in time explain reason behind decisions that have been taken by government and an executive for that matter. I am telling you that what has been done is not something somebody would want to call it unlawful. If somebody thinks that what has been done is unlawful, the appropriate forum to deal with these matters will be at the court. And I think that in our parliamentary practice and our democratic exercise, we need to appreciate certain basic things. One, at every point in time, we need to understand the powers of parliament and the powers of the executives. We need to appreciate what the speaker can do and what speaker cannot do. Speaker of parliament is an umpire, like a referee of a sort in a game. A speaker would have to communicate resolutions of parliament. Was this a resolution passed by parliament or the directive by parliament? Has the speaker gotten the powers to do what he did?
Did the road minister have the powers to do what he did?
If in the minds of the speaker or certain members of parliament, particularly the minority, if in their minds they think that the minister head is the solution for that lies in directive being issued by speaker.
But he's the leader of parliament. Parliament is supposed to
I'm saying that the speaker cannot speak his mind on matters of this nature. The speaker ought to communicate resolutions of parliament. And that is the job of the speaker.
So you are saying the speaker erred in this?
I'm thinking that in my mind, what this should have done, what should have happened was that the minister be invited to the committee and to ask questions as to why decisions of this nature has been taken. But for a speaker to go out there and issue directive and calling decisions and administrative decisions that has been taken by a ministry to be unconstitutional, I'm saying that determining the constitutionality of matters does not lie in the lawmakers. Okay. They are supposed to make laws. Those who are mandated to interpret it will be the court. Let
me bring Mr. Jantwa in to respond to this, because that has also been the debate. I mean, we heard the majority leader say something similar, that, I mean, the speaker was not... Because when you read let Mr. Jantwa speak. Give him the right to speak as well. I've given you enough time. Mr. Jantwa, please come in for me. Where do you stand on this matter? Who erred in this case?
The speaker's responsibility is to make sure that the responsibility of the House is done. And what the Speaker is talking about, he's talking about the fact that a responsibility of the House has been breached. It's simple, straightforward. Let me ask you a question. If the Speaker was an MPP Speaker, will the Minister of Roads and Highways do what he's doing? Would he do what he was doing? Even if they are claiming it was administrative, even if they are claiming it was administrative, the right thing for the Roads and Highways Minister to do is to come to Parliament and propose that when the Finance Minister read about the tolls, there has been mayhem at toll booths. And so because of that, he is proposing to Parliament that what the Finance Minister discussed, they want action on it. Look, it's a policy. It is a policy. That is what it is. Now, every policy should be followed by legislation. And what drives the legislation is the regulation behind the policy. And where does that start from? It starts from Parliament. It doesn't start from the executive. It doesn't start from the judiciary. It's not a question of a court. It's not a question of a court.
Mr. Johnson, I'll let you hold on. Let's just take a look again at what exactly the Speaker said as against what the Majority Leader said in Parliament quickly, and we'll come back.
That the bills are presented to the House. Until they are approved, nobody, and I mean nobody, has the authority to start implementing something that doesn't exist. But does that amount to a disrespect of the House? That is where I may differ. The minister, because this is not a court of law, might have misunderstood or misapplied the law. And so it's for us to draw his attention and tell him that you have no such authority. In spite of all the legal and linguistic gymnastics that have been displayed, it is very clear that what the minister sought to do, he has no such authority to do that. It's not a matter of operationalization of the law. There is no such law for him to operationalize. There is no such law. The law we have now has imposed the fees that they have been collecting. So it's being implemented. It's not like it's something you are going to now start. Can we pass a law which is being implemented, and the implementing authority like the executive, they are having challenges with the law? They will not come back to the House. They can, on their own authority, decide not to implement the law. Is that what the law says? I say no. If they have any problem with the implementation of the law, then they have to come back to this House. Because we don't just sit down and pass the laws. We consult the people who elected us to represent them here. That is why committees invite memoranda and invite people to appear before the committee. And so the executive cannot just on their own suspend the implementation of a law.
Right, Honourable Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, and of course he is speaking on this particular issue and asking that the Roads Minister reverses that decision to have road tolls suspended. Mr. Johnson, I'm coming back to you because you were talking about the fact that the Speaker is the leader of Parliament, and so it was his duty to ensure that if any work had been overlooked, they had to bring it back. And by the way, we have Mr. Sam George, Honourable Sam George, MP for Ningo Pram, and also he's a ranking member of the Communications, Deputy Ranking Member of the Communications Committee in Parliament. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. How are you?
Very well.
I know, right? Pardon me. Let's come back to Mr. Johnson. You were saying earlier.
Is there not a process in how budgets are handled in Parliament after the Finance Minister reads it? There's a process that goes through the years. Even last year, it was the same process. What's different? Why can any minister think he can breach Parliament's regulations and procedures. He could have even gone to the committee and suggested to the committee, there's mayhem in a toll. How many toll booths do we have in Ghana
About
right
38
now?
of
About
them.
38. Only 38. And where are the mayhems? Because he should show evidence that there's mayhem everywhere. And he didn't do that. And he has arrogantly taken that responsibility that isn't his. And they are trying to use administrative fiat to cover it. Can't do that. It's wrong.
So you can't just say...
If for anything at all, if for anything at all, the president should suspend him.
He should be suspended
Yes,
for this
he
decision
should.
that has been
Yes.
taken.
How can you breach Parliament's rules and regulations? Parliament is a body, it's part of the governance system in this country. We have the executive, we have the legislature, and we have the judiciary. You can't do that as a minister. You can't.
Ideally, should the road tolls even be suspended in the first place?
Well, that is open for, what do you call it, in terms of what he did. Well, it's a policy.
No, but I'm asking that, what do you think? Where do you stand with regards to the cessation of road tolls?
So let me ask the question. Let me give an example. So there is a PPP on the motorway.
Yeah.
The private company brings a certain amount of money. The government adds to that amount of money. The idea is that the private company would earn its money by taking road tolls for a certain duration, then it hands over BOT back to government after a while. Right now, if they suspend the road tolls, they are saying that they are going to use the ET levy.
E-levy, yeah.
ET levy to be able to do that. How much is the ET levy to start off with? But you know, for me, there is a sinister plan on this. Look, the MPP, when they do the things, they just don't do it just like that. They think about it 5 years ahead.
You think there's a sinister motive behind this directive?
Look, Ejapa,
why would that be?
Look, Ejapa, you think they just thought of Ejapa 2020? They started thinking of Ejapa 2015 and brought it into action 2020. I'm telling you, mid-year budget, let's see what will happen. Mid-year budget, let's see what will happen. I'm sure there is going to be a levy on roads. Mid-year budget. Mark it.
Mr. Bernard Muna, let me bring you in. Do you also think that there's a sinister motive behind this? I mean, where do you stand on all of this?
Good morning to you and to all the panelists, including the late Sam George.
The late, he's here now.
Yeah,
you make it sound a little scary when you say the late.
Yeah. He's my kid brother, though.
I know him.
I am told that annually we collect about 72 million Ghana cedis.
On road tolls, yes.
And so somebody should do the calculation for me how much is collected on average per day. For the duration that we are not collecting road tolls, the Minister for Roads should be made to pay the amount of money that will be lost to the state.
Why should he?
For his actions that has led to the non-receival of money into government chest. He has no authority whatsoever. The Minister for Finance, even in the budget presentation, was clear that when the budget is approved, there are stages before the budget is approved. Committees have to meet, there are budget briefings, there is consultation, meeting with the public to bring to them what the budget is all about. Members of Parliament have to understand. They go on retreats before they come to Parliament to come and debate the budget. And it is only after the debate that the question will be put as to whether the budget should be accepted or not. None of these processes have been taken. And you get up, too much excitement, and say that you have suspended road tolls and you have instructed the police to take over all the toll booths.
He says there was confusion.
Which confusion? Which confusion? In actual fact, the confusion erupted soon after the police had taken over the roads, because many people use the road tolls sections as their source of business and livelihood. They were not informed. They did not get prior knowledge whatsoever. So on Wednesday, when the budget was being prepared, people on Tuesday had actually gone to buy things to come and stock so they can also trade.
But in the first place, having hawkers along the toll booths, is that not
illegality.
problematic?
No,
It's an
no, no.
illegality.
Wait.
So
If
is
it's
it
an
not addressing that
illegality,
too?
don't you tax them? I see that tax officials go to these illegal people and they take money from
Bernard,
them.
it doesn't make it legal.
Can I make my point? They go.
Legal.
So the tax officials who go there to take money from them as taxes, they also collect illegal money.
Yes.
And so these people have been
Risk our
stationed there.
citizens, their
They have
lives.
been stationed there. That is their source of livelihood. More importantly, the workers at the tolls. It was a decision that we should take persons with disability to be there so that they will be taking the tolls for us. No announcement whatsoever, no preparations for these people. They just got there and then they said, you are not coming to work. Go
In
back
fact,
home.
the Boasso toll booth manager says they haven't been paid for 2 months.
And all of a sudden go home. Minister is saying that you will take steps to absorb them. Absorb them into what? None of these things have been done. And then this minister, who is always excited to be, speaking and acting in funny manner. You remember when he went and then there was some construction somewhere? He just went and started instructing his police to arrest them. You can't do that. We are a country of laws, and you are a member of parliament. You make the laws. You do know that once the Toll Act has been in place, it is only parliament that has capacity to say don't collect tolls. So for me, Minister for Roads should be made to pay
For the number of
for
days
the number of days until the budget is approved. How much money on average, and of course we know how much is collected per year, so you can average it how much is collected per day and then let him pay. Next time we will not take the action. I do not side with the other what do we call it, argument that because he has already taken the decision, asking people to go back and work and collect tolls will generate confusion.
Would they not?
If you ask ministers to be spared of their wrongdoings, you know how many things we will do in this country. And if the minister what do we call it, parliamentary affairs, is saying that because there is confusion, how many confusions? Because we have to raise a certain amount of money. Have we raised that amount of money in the budget? Roads are to be constructed in the budget. Have those roads been constructed? Is there any confusion about it?
Well, we're told that we're not generating enough at the toll booths to be able to construct these roads.
So if we are not generating, and I am asking the question, if you listen to the vice president, if you listen to the minister in recent debates with the transport owners, they were insisting that they will increase road tolls.
Tolls, exactly.
That had become topical, and suddenly road tolls have been dropped. We should watch it in our fuel pricing.
And that's where
you should watch
you
it
think
in the
there's a
fuel
sinister
pricing.
motive.
Yes.
And so for you, it's
You
about
should
fuel
watch it in
prices,
the
maybe.
fuel pricing.
Let me bring Honorable Sam George in, because I remember that at the vetting of the roads minister, he was very explicit. He said that if he's approved, one of the things that he's looking forward to is actually increasing road tolls. Because he said that we need to generate a lot more. If people are complaining about bad roads, then it means that we have to tax people a lot more along our road, our toll booths, so that we can generate enough money to fix our roads. Now there's this U-turn, and he suddenly suspends it as well. And there's this hula baloo. What do you make of this?
Bella, good morning, and good morning to your panelists. The Honorable Kwesi Amakwata is a senior member of parliament and a very senior lawyer in this country. Let's put on record that even when the letter was issued, he was out of the jurisdiction. Both letters, when both letters were issued, he was out of the jurisdiction. That does not stop him from issuing those letters, however. However, my information points to the fact that those, especially the second letter, which sought to explain what will be an indiscretion on the part of the minister, may have generated from some other source, not even the ministry itself.
You don't think so?
Absolutely. When you look at the two letterheads, it explains it to you. And clearly, everybody who followed parliamentary proceedings yesterday knows where it generated from.
Where is this generated from?
The
Because it says
majority leader.
Public Affairs Unit,
The majority
Ministry of
leader
Roads and
is the
Highways.
one who put out this fable, this tale, and has sought to get it issued on the letterhead of the ministry.
You have evidence. You have evidence that this is from the majority leader.
If you let me land, listen to me clearly. I said anybody who followed the proceedings of Parliament heard what the majority leader said. Now read that release, which is on a different letterhead from the ministry's letterhead that was issued by the minister. That seeks to give credence to that fable, that tale, that fib that was told by the majority leader and Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, Osei Mensah-Bosu, in Parliament. Look, let's be clear. At first, I felt the imposition of taxes and the removal of same are executive administrative rights. It is the right of a minister to say, policy direction says we're imposing a tax. It is the right of that minister to as well say, in consultation with my appointing authority, we are taking off the tax. That is the preserve of the executive. And so at first I felt, well, this was an administrative decision taken. Then my attention was drawn to the fact that on the issue of tolls, road tolls, it is not, we're not taking road tolls in this country on the back of a policy directive. We are taking road tolls in this country on the back of an act of Parliament.
Yeah.
And that shifts the conversation. So it then moves it away from the ambit. So those who are taking on Mr. Speaker are doing it from a position of ignorance. Gross ignorance. Because you cannot then use executive policy decisions to amend an act of Parliament. Because there is an NRCD decree as amended in 1999 by the second Parliament. The Road Toll Amendment Act of 1999. It is that act that governs the collection of tolls on our roads in this country. Now, it is again Parliament's prerogative to approve the fees and charges under the Fees and Charges Act. So, this conversation, people must understand. And you see, my initial position was born out from my area of focus, communications, where the minister could wake up and say, I am imposing a TV license. He didn't have to come to Parliament. When there was a kickback against, the minister woke up and said, I am withdrawing it. He didn't have to come to Parliament because there is no legislation legislating the collection of that, of same. But in the case of road tolls, it is not an executive decision. It is not a policy decision. It is an act of Parliament. And you cannot use a policy directive to vary an act of Parliament. The only way to go about it is to bring a bill to Parliament, and it could have come under a certificate of emergency of urgency on the same Thursday the bill was read. He could have brought it. It would be a one-liner that would simply say Parliament is abolishing the Road Toll Amendment Act of 1999. You understand me? And that would then vest in him the power to do operationalization. Because you see, this horrid tale of chaos, first and foremost, you know, because of the procedure in the House, once the leader had spoken, the Speaker would not allow members who are not part of the leadership to speak. But we were on our feet. We're going to ask the Osei Mensah-Bosu to establish before Parliament is a house of records. He should show us evidence of chaos. They should name one toll booth in this country. One, where there was chaos, where people had gotten down to engage in fisticuffs. You are telling me that people got down from their car at the toll booth. I told J. Mensah-Bosu yesterday in Parliament that he should start writing script for Kumawood. That people got down from their cars, got to a toll booth in Ghana, got down from their cars and said because a finance minister had read the budget. Well, what did the finance minister read in the budget? Let me read verbatim. Page 60
we read that earlier.
Page 60 of the budget, paragraph 247, Roman numeral 5V. Zero rate tolls, that is, remove toll charges on all public roads and reassign the current workforce collecting road tolls effective immediately the budget is approved by Parliament, so that they do not become any worse off because of this policy. So how could anybody have heard this and then shown up at the toll booth? And that's why I said it is only from the fertile imagination of Osei Mensah-Bosu. Even the minister himself would not have come up with this. And let's be clear, when they say they are operationalizing a directive, what exists today as a directive? What exists today as a directive is the Road Toll Amendment Act of 1999. In that law, the operationalization of that law does not give the minister the power to suspend the act. No, without recourse to Parliament. Again, if you read the budget, which has not been approved, and there is no guarantee that this budget will be approved. So that's why even the finance minister, who under the public financial management legislation is minded to say that this can only come into force after Parliament has approved it. So for me, look, those who say the minister has acted correctly, the minister is somebody I have some high regard for. Okay, he's a senior member of the House. But on this one, the minister is wrong.
Okay.
The earlier he reverses the decision, or the earlier he quickly brings a bill and engages the leadership of the House. Because you see, you've still got about 7 weeks to the end of the year.
So he should do either of them.
He could do either of them.
Okay.
First and foremost, issue an apology.
Yes.
Issue an apology. And secondly, take one of two routes. Immediately come before the House with a bill under a certificate of urgency, which the Speaker has indicated he's not averse to. To say that, can we suspend the, I've forgotten what the act number is, but the toll, public road toll amendment, the toll amendment act. Yes. Suspend that act. Parliament will sit on it. We will take it through we will take it through a certificate of urgency, and in less than an hour, it becomes law.
Be done.
And then his actions can then be legal, or he immediately reverses that decision. And in doing that, we must also be minded about the court laws on costing financial loss to the state. The fact that yesterday road tolls were not collected, today road tolls are not being collected, it is lost to the state.
But Dr. Richard Asante says that, I mean, with what the Speaker said yesterday, he should have invited the minister to the committee to answer some questions instead of directing him to reverse, you know, the decision that he had made.
You see, Bella, the point I will make here, and you see, the MPP must be very minded about one thing. Every time the Speaker gives directives, they try to undermine the authority of the Speaker. That would not have happened if it was an MPP Speaker.
I said it.
It would not have happened. Look, you as a Minister of State, even within the executive structure, you answer to the Chief of Staff, who is not the head of the executive. The Speaker is the head of an equal arm of government.
Said the same thing.
He is the head of an equal arm of government. Would any minister dare vary the decision of a court and say that the Chief Justice should call him?
Or vary the decision of the
But
president.
or vary the decision of the president.
Okay.
Would any minister dare do that? The minister cannot. Listen.
Was it the resolution of Parliament or a directive from the Speaker?
Okay, now let me.
I want to understand.
The Speaker makes rulings.
So I'll tell you
The
what.
Speaker makes
One person at a
rulings.
time, please.
Responsible for
The
Parliament.
Speaker makes
Richard, what's your
rulings.
question?
Let me just
What's
say-
your question?
I've heard this
my
question.
question
Let
to
me
my
explain
brother
it.
is
I've
that,
heard it.
But see, you want a Speaker to communicate resolution of Parliament after
The Speaker
vote on
gives
the matter.
directives.
Wait,
Now, I
It's not
want to
only
understand and appreciate.
So,
Was this
let me explain to
supposed
you.
to be
Honorable
a
Haruna
resolution
Idrisu.
of Parliament?
Honorable Haruna
Or
Idrisu
hearsay and
stood.
Speaker
Richard,
speaking
hold
on
on,
that?
let him
Honorable
respond.
Haruna Idrisu stood on Standing Order 72 of the House and made reference to Standing Order 53. Now, what he did was to make a statement
Yes.
on a pressing national issue. There are two routes for a Speaker to give determination in the House. When a bill or a motion is put before the House, when a motion is put before the House, the Speaker opens it up for debate. A vote is put, and then the Speaker will rule on the vote and give a directive on the basis of a vote. However, when a statement is made, the Speaker doesn't open a statement up for debate. He opens the statement up for discussions or for contributions. That's how the standing order. Contributions are made to statements, and when in your statement you ask for a directive from the Speaker doesn't put a vote. So I'll give you a typical example. When the issue of sand winning was very topical in the Ayenswan, is it? No, not in Sawam Edojiri constituency. The Honorable Arnold Dompre made a statement on the floor of the House. This was under Right Honorable Michael Quay, and asked the Speaker to make consequential directives on the basis of his statement, which we all contributed to. No vote was put to it. The Speaker gave directives setting up a parliamentary committee to investigate the issues of sand winning. When there was a shooting of family heads.
Hold on, Richard.
When there was a shooting of family heads in my constituency, I made a statement on the floor of the House. Again, and I'm using examples under Right Honorable Michael Quay to let you know that this is not new to Parliament. I made a statement and asked the Speaker to issue a consequential directive ordering the Minister for Interior and the IGP to report to Parliament on a case that had dragged for 6 months without any arrest of a murder of a chief in my constituency within 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, the Speaker gave that, Michael Quay gave that directive that day without putting it into a vote. So Haruna's statement yesterday, in his statement, he asked the Speaker to give a directive on the basis of an issue of national discussion. The Speaker was not bound to put it to a vote. The Speaker was under the laws, the standing of those of the House. The Speaker was versed to give a directive and pass a ruling on the statement. The Speaker could have said, and if you listen to the Speaker was very charitable. The Speaker actually tried to explain the indiscretion of the minister and gave him the leeway to say the minister should take steps, because the Speaker recognizes the fact that the minister is a senior member of the House. And that is why I believe, I'm sure if it was another minister, and at times this is where people say Parliament, we are not fair. If it was another minister who was not a member of Parliament
Backbencher.
or a backbencher, he would have been dealt with in a different way. But the Speaker was very lenient. And so you must be showing gratitude to the Speaker for his leniency in giving these opportunities for the minister. Eat the humble pie. Apologize. You got it wrong. It is possible everybody gets it wrong. It's human nature. Apologize and do the right thing.
All right. Let me bring Mr. Jantua in, and we'll take a look at a video of some of these toll booth workers who were complaining and saying that they did not get prior notice. And in fact, some of them at Mori in the central region are asking for some 20,000 Ghana cedis each to start a business, because they're saying that if the finance minister says, government payroll is full and they're not sure when they're going to be reassigned, they would rather have government give them some amount of money to start their own businesses so they can take care of their families. Some are saying we've not been paid for 2 months, and so what is going to happen to us? Take a look at a bit of what they had to say, and I'll come back to Mr. Jantua to speak on this particular issue.
For almost 3 years, Muftau has been working as a toll attendant.
Yeah, I live personally. I live at Ejiso, and then yesterday, immediate after reading of the budget, I left here around 8:39 in the evening, because all that we heard, and from the finance minister, we heard that after the budget has been approved, that's when the toll will be scrapped. So we were all hoping that it will be scrapped after Parliament has approved the budget. So I went home to sleep. So early this morning, I wake up on my way. I just got here, and then my collectors in the booth were telling me that it was all over, that they should shut down the tolls. So I asked them, okay, to shut down. But then it came as a surprise to me, because I know we are in a country of laws. Because you present budgets, it has to go through the finance committee before they approve it on the floor. So without approval on the floor, and then you ask us to shut tolls just like that, to me it doesn't make sense. I don't see, because there's law that backs toll. So if anything new is coming, there should be the law. You just don't sit in the comfort of your office and just order things to be shut down like that.
How do you see this decision by the road minister?
It is very bad. To be honest with you, it's very bad. You don't take this easy, because you have not even engaged the workers. Because I heard the minister saying the workers were going to be reassigned. So if you're going to you are going to reassign a worker, you've not even spoken to him. You've not even sat him down to talk about where he will be going to or whatever. Then suddenly, boom, you just tell him to go home. It doesn't make sense to me.
You're saying they are owed how many months?
As I'm talking to you now, at the end of this month, we are owing 2 months. We were only paid September. October hasn't come. We are in November, getting to the end of November. They've not paid them. So you are asking these collectors, disabled and disabled guys, to go home. Right now, they are going home.
Manager of the Boasu toll booth in the Ashanti region speaking on this issue, and he says they were not alerted. What is going to happen? And like I mentioned earlier, there's some in the central region who are asking for 20,000 Ghana cedis each so that they can start their own business, because they don't trust government to reassign them. Looking at the fact that the finance minister says the payroll is full, and so young people should go into entrepreneurship. Mr. Jantua.
Bella, I don't know how they are signing toll booths now, whether government has taken full control of it. I used to run a toll booth at Dome Bridge in 2000. And the way they did it was they put out tenders, and the private sector will go tender for it and win. At the time I was running that toll booth, we used to make old Ghana cedis 70 million every month. We gave government 40 million, and 30 million we used for our expenses. So I don't know how it is done now, whether government has taken it over. If government has taken it over, why haven't they been paid for how many months?
2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
Where is government going to find the 20 million or whatever money to give to them? They didn't even tell them. They didn't say anything to them. They didn't give them any heads up that, look, this is going to happen. Now, if they didn't do that, where's the money going to come from? I asked the question, and maybe Sam George or Bernard or Richie would be able to tell me. Does a minister have the right to instruct the police to do things? Is there not a process? There's an IGP in there. Does he not go to the IGP and say, ABCD is happening? So I am suggesting or asking you, can you get your police people to go to the toll booth?
What if he got approval from the IGP, which is why he stated it?
Has he told us? Then the IGP should come and speak. The IGP should tell us. Because I don't see how a minister has the right to do that. Otherwise, the minister will have a right to say, Bella, come and arrest her because she said XYZ against me. It is wrong.
But we saw the deployment of the FPU.
Yeah, but it is wrong.
Does it not mean then that there was approval from the top?
Bella, we should not use illegalities to be legalities in this country. What is wrong is wrong. And what politicians fail to appreciate is that it's the people who have put you in that position. And it's the people you're ruling. You're not ruling your political party. So whatever you're doing, do it right. Look, this opposition from the majority leader to the, what do you call it, the speaker, for me is abhorrent. It shouldn't happen. That is what now gives people the chance to sit on radio and insult the Speaker of Parliament. I don't care who the Speaker of Parliament is in terms of what party he is. I'm talking about the office. And if for anything at all, as majority leader, you do not agree with the Speaker, go into caucus and discuss with him. When you come out, come with consensus. Because Parliament, apart from there being an opposition and a majority, it's a house of consensus. We shouldn't do that. Now, the people on the toll booth, what are they going to do now? I feel if they have said the minister should renounce what he did and they should go back, they should go back. Because Ghana is losing money.
They should go back?
They should go back.
Are you talking about the toll booth workers?
Yes, they should go back.
But what about the traders, the hawkers?
That is illegal. It's an illegality.
But we've watched it fester.
You see, and this is why we have the government in power. And I keep saying, presidents of this country, the Fourth Republic, have traveled the road from Shangri-La to the castle. They see hawkers on the street. They know it's illegal. Have they done anything about it?
They say the president waves at them at the toll booth when he gets there.
But it's wrong. It is very wrong. Do you know how many hawkers are killed because of the work they are doing? And it's because people don't have work to do. But we should do something about it.
They are doing their work.
We should create a certain environment where we can accommodate them. It is wrong.
Is the e-levy the best way to also generate some money to make up for the road tolls that we're not going to be collecting as it stands now?
Well, I do not think, looking at the petroleum price build-up, looking at all the taxes, government could have done anything, new in terms of putting taxes on these things. They had to find a way out. But was that the right way to do it? Because it didn't seem to go through process. Why do I say it didn't seem to go through process? The telecoms communication chamber, were they part of that decision?
No, they say they were
The
not
telcos,
engaged.
were they part of that decision? The banks, were they part of that decision? How much did the telcos, mobile money, how much did it earn last year? It earned more money than banks. And maybe it's a ploy. It's a ploy to get people to go back to the banks because people were rather relying on Momo. Now, if I feel, and you say they indicate that the first 100 CDs, they don't charge anything. How many people send 100 CDs?
When poor people send not more than 100 Ghana cedis. When you are sending money to your mother, or when the poor people are sending money to buy their goods, is it 100 CDs? Is it 100 CDs? Anything above 100 CDs, 101 will be taxed 1.75 at 1.75. Yeah.
So does that make the tax reliable? Is this something that we can say the people are happy with? Look, government is there to make people's lives comfortable. And what are the people looking for? No kofio. No kofio. Something that will help them live comfortably. And you are adding taxes to them. You should have heard the comments of the ordinary Ghanaian yesterday. Because there's this perception that you are up there, we are down here, so you can do anything to us. It's wrong. We shouldn't have that kind of mentality. And so something should be done. And this is where I feel, yes, the president needs to rest. But the president doesn't need to rest in a time when we are reading our budget. He should have been in country. He should have been in country for nothing at all.
Let me bring Mr. Bernard Mona in. Richard, I'll let you speak. I mean, they both have to leave, and so let them just speak on this issue quickly, and they can go. Professor Bokmin says that this is a... Don't worry, I'll let you speak. I mean, we're going to talk about e-levy with you and Honorable Sam George anyway, so we'll have enough time for that. And by the way, if you're watching, don't go yet because we've extended the time so we can have enough time to speak on the e-levy. But Mr. Bernard Mona, let me ask you as well. Hold on, Richard. Hold on, please. We don't have time. Just allow him to speak so he can go. Mr. You will get the chance to speak. Mr. Bernard Mona, it will be enough. Don't worry. Let me come to you. Don't let me lose my train of thought. So, Professor Bokmin says that with the introduction of the e-levy, it's a very lazy approach to taxing people, to generating revenue for the people. We could have come up with other options rather than just taxing, or coming up with the e-levy. What do you say?
Well, just to answer first to John Tua's issue of 100 cedis. So this morning you will be sending me close to 1,000 cedis.
Yes.
But you have to send it, and Sam George, don't forget, you'll have to send it 99 cedis at a time. So just send 99 cedis.
Well, that's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
That's how it works.
So when you send 99 cedis, they should not charge.
For the next day.
So you can only send 100 Ghana cedis a day.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be more than 3,000 a month.
I'm a poor person, and Mr. Jantua is not a poor person.
Really? But we send money. Okay. Granted that I admit that I'm not a poor person, but I'll be supporting poor people. Right? And in supporting the poor people, I'll be taxed.
To help build the nation.
When they are also going to take their little money, they will be taxed.
So if you are taking, you don't pay tax.
Who said so? Because it is a transaction. It is a transaction.
No, you see, you are talking on the basis of this.
Please,
Richard,
please.
Don't worry, allow him to land.
So there is going to be multiple taxation. In addition to that, we have already paid value-added taxes. And so I choose to go and pay my electricity bill via Momo. In the electricity bill, I'm paying value-added tax. In addition to all the taxes I'm paying there, I'm going to be charged for wanting to pay electricity bill, for wanting to pay water bill, wanting to pay school fees, wanting to pay TV license. All those, I'll be charged. If I am using data to do Facebooking, YouTube, Instagram, I'll be charged. And the young people, majority of whom are not in employment, are using these platforms to try to check out opportunities. They are going to be charged. And when Vice President said that, in his view, mobile money should not be taxed because majority of the beneficiaries of this system are poor people. There are no more poor people in the system. So this is a very cruel way of taking money, extorting money. What has happened to moving from taxation to production? What has happened to that mantra? That my brother, the Vice President, said we are going to move from taxation to production and asked the gathering to join in the chorus from taxation to production. all of a sudden, we have moved away from production to taxation.
They say the poor people are left out. And
you understand?
Honorable Kojo Kuma says that there's data that suggests that 30 to 40% of the transactions that are done are below 100 Ghana cedis. And so that is why it shows that the poor people will be left out of
it is unthinkable. It is unthinkable that through all these processes, now, I am just thinking that there is no need for me to be carrying money on my e-wallet. What it means is that I should go and take money.
Yes.
And be traveling with it, and now be spending, because when I'm spending direct cash, I will not pay any levy. I will not pay any 1.75%. So they're thinking that we should have a cashless society. By this policy, you have now realized that that policy has been vanquished. So sometimes it's not just a lazy way of mobilizing money, but it is an uninspiring way of thinking. Let us inject some thinking into the way we do things, because this nation is better than the kind of leadership that is currently at play.
Bella, just to add, the difficult way, when you look at this lazy way thing that Professor Bobbin said, the difficult way of making that money is property taxes. That's the difficult way of trying to get it. But that is what we should do, because it affects what? The rich. Look at the buildings in Accra alone. And what does it also do? It also identifies those who have built houses in waterways and brings a much better structure in terms of breaking those down and making sure that when it rains, water has its way to flow. Property taxes, they should put the structures in place. It's not only up to the MMDCEs and the districts.
But they're even saying that now they're taking it from them to an independent
whatever the case
entity that will be collecting that.
It is government that should put the structure in place for it to work. Look at the buildings. We would raise more than 7 billion if we have an effective system. And they say we've got what? E-addresses now. If we've got e-addresses, it should be easy to do the property taxes. And that is why Professor Bobby is probably saying it's a lazy man's way of collecting money.
You know,
all right.
The final point.
Just finally, Richard, don't worry. We have enough time. Don't worry.
It appears that for whatever it is, communication has become like fuel. It has an inelastic demand. And so we'll make calls. We'll send money. We'll do all the e-things because, and so when you have an inelastic demand, what you can do is to constantly increase the prices.
All right.
And that is what we are doing. Is that no more than lazy?
All right.
How is that the production that we talked about? I feel very uncomfortable under a very unthinking government.
All right. Thank you so much, by the way, to Mr. Kwame Jantua. He's the chairman of the Oil and Gas Sector AGI and a member of the CPP. He will have to take leave of us. And Mr. Bernard Mona as well will have to take leave of us. He's the former chairman for People's National Convention. We'll take some messages. Cookie is on standby. We're going straight into the e-levy. Dr. Richard Asante is here. Honorable Sam is here as well. And we'll be talking about whether or not it is even the right way to go about it. Cookie.
All right. First one says, good morning, TV3. You see how this MPP government takes Ghanaians for granted? They just cannot be truthful a little bit. Look at how this man is struggling to defend a lie. Kweku Marie sent in that one. Second one says, good morning, TV3. Please, the minister should admit he has faulted the law, and so he should do the needful and stop dragging this issue. Ghanaians should be respected. The truth is bitter. Bawa Abbas, Maestro, and Tamale sent in that one. Now, Prince Henry in Koforidua says, good morning, Bella. Looking at the majority leader speaking in Parliament yesterday, you can clearly see how he was just being economical with the truth in terms of the decision the road minister took by suspending all road tolls in Ghana. Our leaders shouldn't be playing on our intelligence because they are in Parliament to represent the interest of the people and not their selfish interests. Prince Henry sent in that one. Good morning, Bella. In fact, listening to this MPP communicator, I think he's got a problem with understanding and accepting the fact that the road minister took a wrong decision. These people always got problems with the truth. Edward Jonunye in Kumasi sent in that one. When will communicators stop thinking that they are the only people who have sense to explain wrongdoings to Ghanaians? Ghanaians are fed up with the arrogance played by the MPP government. Good morning, TV3. Please, did I hear Honorable Che Mensah very well yesterday? Hey, Ghana, we We need to thank God for giving Parliament leadership to the NDC. If not, Ghana would have been unbearable for us. We trust Parliament and we pray our MPs to properly scrutinize the budget in the interest of the Ghanaians before passing it. For the road toll, Mr. Speaker said it's a rule of law. Victor Rapture Inho sent in that one. My screen is not scrolling. Okay, Bella. I'm having issues. Okay, it's back now. Let me take this one. This one says, I don't understand government at all. This issue of e-levy has a ripple effect on the economy and lives. Not one. People will go back to the old way of queuing in the banks to withdraw or deposit funds instead of using banking apps or the internet. Armed robbery will be on the rise. The policy of a cashlight economy is thrown back to the dogs. Robbers, I've read that one. And okay, so I'll just jump and probably just take the last one. Good morning, Bella. You see how difficult it is to defend the indefensible. Look at how Richard is struggling to defend this mind-boggling act of lawlessness. The majority leader has prepared the way for all communicators to go out and disgrace themselves like what Richard is doing this morning. FK in Navrongo sent in that one, Bella. Back
all
to
right.
you.
Thank you so much, Cookie. And for all of you who are watching, well, we'll be right back to continue this conversation. Honorable Sam George is the MP for Ningo Pram, and he's also the Deputy Ranking Member of the Communications Committee in Parliament. And Dr. Richard Asante is the Deputy Secretary of Communications, or Deputy Director of Communications at the MPP. We'll be back, so don't go anywhere. Please stay with us.